Hi, welcome to this episode of White Glove Geography. Today we're looking at general knowledge with a specific focus on places, and we're looking at the world, the mountains, rivers and cities. Here we've got the overview of the mountains, the rivers and the cities in the world that we're going to look at today. Before we start looking at the rivers, the mountains and the cities, we're going to look at latitude and longitude. In effect, it's kind of a grid reference system, but on a global scale. The main line of latitude that you'll definitely have heard of is the equator, and that's the major line of latitude, so that's there. And the major line of longitude that you might have heard of is the Greenwich Meridian, so that shows where 0 degrees is. If you go anywhere that way, it's degrees east. If you go anywhere that way, it's degrees west. And similarly with the equator, anywhere going that way, it's degrees north. Anywhere going that way, it's degrees south. Now for me, a lot of people get these confused, the latitude, which one's the latitude, which one's the longitude. So at the top of the image here you can see there's a man looking down, and you kind of imagine that man looking down and saying, oh, it's a long way down, so that's longitude because it's the one going down. Of course you have different lines of latitude as well. We have here, we've got the Tropic of Cancer. The Tropic of Cancer, that's the furthest most that the sun will be directly overhead for at least one day of the year. Here we have the Tropic of Capricorn, that's 23.5 degrees south, and that's the furthest south that the sun will be on at least one day directly overhead. Whilst we're talking about that, this image at the bottom, the Earth is on a tilt of about 23.5 degrees. That is what gives us our seasons. So you can see here, in June, we know that is our summer. So we're tilted towards the sun, the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun. Then we get into our autumn, so we're kind of about even. Then we go into our winter, and we are then tilted away from the sun, so we get less sunlight, and the sun, as you know, is a different angle in the sky. Then we come back towards spring, and this is what gives the world the seasons, because as the Earth moves around the sun, it moves around and its axis is 23.5 degrees off centre. So here we are, let's look at the rivers today. The rivers that we've got, let's circle those in blue. So we have the Mississippi, that flows through the USA. We have the Amazon, the River Amazon, that flows through Brazil. We have the River Nile, that flows through many countries in Africa, but eventually reaches the Mediterranean Sea through Egypt. Then we have the River Congo, that flows through the country of the Democratic Republic of Congo. We have the Ganges, that flows through India and then reaches its mouth, the end of the river, somewhere between India and Bangladesh, depending which one of those ends you choose. And then finally we have the Yangtze. So the Yangtze River, that flows through China. We're now looking at the main cities in the world. So let's start off with London. So London, of course, is in the UK, so label that there, I've done that in blue. You have to be quite small on that one. Then we have New York, so that's the northeastern part of the USA. We have Rio de Janeiro, so that's just there, that's on the coastline. Then we have Beijing, that's in China. We have Delhi, that's in India. We have Sydney, that's in Australia. We have Cape Town, that's in South Africa. And we have Moscow, that's in Russia. So if you need to go through those again, feel free to go back and watch that bit again if that was a little bit quick for you. Okay, we're now onto the mountains. So some of these are major world mountain ranges and others are just ones we haven't covered in other videos. So the Himalaya is probably the most famous mountain range in the world, that's there. That's the Himalayas. And then we have the Andes. That's on the western side of the continent of South America. We have the Rockies. Again, that's on the western side, but North America this time. The Ural Mountains, we've talked about those in a different video. Russia is actually separated into two continents, partly in Europe, partly in Asia. And it's the Ural Mountains that says which part is in which. So the west of the Ural Mountains, Russia, that's the European side of Russia, and to the east of the Ural Mountains, that's the Asian side of Russia. Then we have the Drakensberg Mountains, that's in South Africa. Then we have the Great Dividing Range that runs on the east side of Australia, and the Caucasus Mountains is around about there, between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. So that's the mountains. If that was a little bit quick for you, feel free to go back and label those yourselves just nice and neatly.